Today we need to get into a text that someone revealed they had with V and what that was about. We need to talk about people saying Jennie allegedly visited the camp to see V and why this is a rumor. And then we have Jung Kook cussing out someone by name for being a stalker. So hey dumplings, it's Dave, decide hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, hey spilling milk merch, and let's go. People have been freaking out after Jung Kook apparently called out Sasaengs and basically addressed the concerns that people had over his stalker situation. If you aren't aware of what has happened, let me talk about it and let me say why this was a bit controversial and why people had thoughts about this. So not too long ago, Jung Kook did a live stream. This was of course right before he enlisted, and he talked about his experience with stalkers. It was interesting because there was a lot of controversy around what he was addressing. So he was talking about how stalkers had allegedly followed him everywhere, and that he was not happy to see them at the gym, at home, all of those things. During when he addressed this, he specifically calls out the name stalker, insinuating that these people who do these things are in fact stalkers. Now, of course, if they are appearing outside his house or appearing in private situations in which they were never invited to, like the gym, then yeah, I would consider them stalkers as well. Because first off, how do you even know which gym he goes to and what time he goes to the gym? But a lot of people were using this moment to say that he was saying that anytime any person appears anywhere to see Jung Kook, that they are stalkers because Jung Kook specifically says the word stalker in his video. So anytime anyone goes to the airport to see him, anytime anyone goes to a fan meet, or anytime anyone is seeing Jung Kook more than like 3 or 4 times, the fandom tends to think that that person is a stalker. So even if the person signs up to a fan meet and sees Jung Kook like 50 times and then gets photos of him, that person apparently is a stalker. If the person's even someone that works in entertainment and is often invited to backstage events in which Jung Kook is there, they're also seen as stalkers too. Like I've seen moments in which someone was accusing this person of getting a job in entertainment just to see Jung Kook backstage. That is ridiculous because it's so hard to get a stable job in the entertainment industry. So for someone to have a job at all in the entertainment industry means they've worked really hard to be there. I also want to address situations in which people are at the airport because fans were using this moment of Jung Kook's live stream to say that Jung Kook was also calling out those who go to the airport. Now, if you're unaware of the airport situation in general, KPop specifically, the labels, call these journalists and all these people over to appear there while they're at the airport. These journalists don't just know when the idol is going to be there. They usually are directly connected with the label, and the label will usually tell them when their celebrity is going to be at the airport. And of course, there's no contract involved, so the celebrity doesn't actually ever have to show up at the airport, and or they don't actually have to take the front exit and could leave through the back if they feel unsafe, which sometimes the BTS members do. But they avoid doing that typically because if the label calls these reporters to show up at the airport, and every single time the reporter shows up, the celebrity isn't actually ever there, then the reporters will stop showing up. Thus, the label and the celebrity are going to want to show up to get their picture taken. Jung Kook was specifically talking about those who show up at his front door, send him food, or people who go to the gym. He was not talking about anything like public appearances, like an airport. Regardless of what you want to think, an airport is definitely a public appearance. Personally, I would like to see more of an acceptance between people and each other. I think it's not good to attack each other, and I think a lot of these attacks come from deeply rooted jealousy. Like, why does so-and-so get to see my favorite celebrity so much? Well, I can't even see them once. However, wanting to see a celebrity is great. Wanting to meet them is wonderful. I think the more realistic approach, and I think the more healthy approach, is to admire from afar, is to just buy the music, watch the interviews, and do that sort of thing. And that's really it. It's really not healthy to kind of just fiend over the idea that one day you might meet them. With that said, of course, there are moments in which some people do send a message to a celebrity and they get a response, and wonderful things do happen. Apparently, the artist Yumi messaged V in the DMs and something crazy happened. From this, if you are unaware, Yumi is kind of an indie artist. I say indie because she has an indie sound. However, I believe she is signed to a label, so she's not independent. She is an extremely great artist. She has a sound that I can obviously see that V would love, and of course V does. And so it was very interesting to hear during an interview with Rolling Stone what happened between the two before their new song was made. Now, Yumi and V did their song Wherever You Are, which is a fantastic song. It sounds like music that V would love to create, and I'm glad he did. During the Rolling Stone interview, they asked Yumi how they both came up with this song, and apparently it came up through the Instagram DMs, which is incredible because I didn't even know his DMs were open for people to message him, nor was I sure that he looked at his DMs, and it seems like he does. Yumi continued to talk about how it was super refreshing to do it like that without the labels involved, and how she wants to make music going forward, talking about how it feels more natural that way without the labels putting in their opinion, and it's very refreshing. If you're not aware of the label process, basically American labels will usually let you create whatever song you want, but it then has to go through a vetting or screening process. This is when the higher-ups have to determine whether these songs will sell or not. And that is the ultimate goal, is to make money. And you can't even be upset about that, because if the label doesn't make money, how do they pay their employees? How do they pay their artists? An indie artist that is not signed can afford to create whatever music they want because they don't need to get a ton of views or sales to survive. That money isn't being divvied up. People were saying that this was quite a shocking text because it's definitely unheard of for an artist to have this much control over their music. Also for a song to be created literally through DMs. I always like hearing about people's processes and what they do, so this was very beautiful for her to share, and I'm glad that she did. People often have speculation on these sorts of things, so it's good to hear kind of directly from the source. There's also been a lot of speculation about V and Jennie recently. It was reported not too long ago that the two had broken up. People thought it was weird because apparently the two had broken up right before the enlistment, so a lot of people thought that the two had broken up because V had to enlist. And others, of course, thought that the media was just lying and the two were never together to begin with. Now, of course, with any of these things, even when the alleged relationship is over, people are still going to have their opinions. People are still going to say things, and there's going to be conspiracy theories about things that could be going on. One conspiracy theory that people had was saying that V and Jennie will get back together after V comes back from the military. Now, this theory, even if the two were dating, makes no sense to me, because if the two had intended to actually date, then the military wouldn't actually be the problem, and they would still continue to be dating throughout the time V is in the military. Relationships, and not all relationships, but some relationships do end. That could just be it. There was probably a little bit of a falling out, and that was the issue, and I can understand why. I mean, if you look at the media, if you look at the amount of hate Jennie was getting, it probably wasn't hard for them to be issues internally with them if they were dating. If the two were dating, they probably ultimately decided that when V was enlisting, that would be the best time to sort of end the relationship. And typically people don't go back. There were also people making memes and posting things saying that when V and Jennie visited each other, they're probably kissing at the military or doing all that sort of stuff. Of course, that is really odd to think about and very odd theories to have, because why would you say that someone is kissing each other when it's been reported that the two have broken up with each other? Jennie obviously probably wouldn't come visit. The alleged breakup would have been so fresh that obviously she would not want to come, and she would not want to see him, and she's probably not even around dating other people. She's probably just kind of like thinking about the relationship and still getting over it. This also goes to show that when people are bored, they will literally make up things. And look, some of these people could have liked the idea of the two dating. I think that if the two were dating, that would be great. But let's not make up scenarios where Jennie allegedly goes, sees V in the military and that sort of stuff. Because I actually guarantee if the two were dating, that the reason why they broke up was because of the public opinion. And if the public didn't really have an opinion or care or talk about it, then the relationship would have probably been fine. So I don't like that that's still being talked about when we look at even the relationship between Jennie and Kai that was allegedly confirmed. They pretty much broke up right after the public knew. So we can infer here that the public tends to be the problem in a celebrity's relationship. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks, this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.